Hello, all you beautiful people, and welcome to the Casey Gilboy podcast, where I say, let's talk about anything. I'm so excited for you guys to join me on this podcast adventure, where we dive into many different subjects and see what God has for us in all aspects of life. Hello, everyone. Happy Labor Day. What are you doing today to celebrate? Did you go out of town? Are you just hanging around the house? Are you playing tourist in your own city? Whatever you're doing today, I hope it is relaxing and encouraging and refreshing. My husband and I just returned from an amazing once-in-a-lifetime trip to Florida. We were able to go to a pastor's retreat with 1,000 other people, 500 couples, senior pastors only, at this retreat. And I am still kind of on a beach high. You guys, I haven't been to the beach in probably 14 years. We used to go to the beach regularly. I was a missionary for a big chunk of my life, was going on missions trips with my churches when I was a teen. My husband and I lived overseas as missionaries when we were first married. I feel like regularly, at least once a year, I was going to the beach for a huge chunk of my life. And I realized I have not been in that long. We did go to San Diego for a pastor's conference about 16 years ago, but that was when there was wildfires near San Diego, so we couldn't even enjoy the beach because the air was all smoggy from the smoke, and it was cold and windy. We couldn't even go on the beach. So really the last time my husband and I went to the beach was Dubai. When we were in missionaries in Central Asia, we had visa issues. We had to leave the country every 3 months, which was really stressful with a baby. Some people might think, oh, fun, you get to travel to a new place every 3 months and leave the country. No, when you have a baby that you are trying to sleep train, and then as she got older, trying to potty train, leaving every 3 months was super stressful. So we would go, to the beach, but we weren't even sure if we were able to get back into the country. Every time we left was an act of faith. They could refuse us entry. They could refuse us a visa. So you might think it was like this nice little vacation every 3 months for a couple days, but it was actually super high stress. So I look back on those days and yeah, we took our then baby to the beaches of Dubai, which are incredibly beautiful and some of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen in my life are in Dubai. But we were very stressed. And so it was amazing to be together in Florida at this conference, just to focus on each other, to relax. My husband was sick for half of it, but at least we were sick together in a hotel where we could rest, not having to take care of our kids or clean or cook. And then he finally felt better the last day, and we went to Clearwater, Florida, and I can't stop thinking about it. I've already been recording for 3 minutes. All I'm talking about is the beach. Oh my goodness. If you feel the way I do, let me know, because now I feel like I'm ruined forever. I've had a taste of the beach again. I remember how calming it is, how peaceful it is. And now I'm obsessing, when can I go back? When can I go to a beach next? How do I make this happen? I'm obsessed. Please let me know if you are the same. Am I crazy? I'm still on this beach high. But I wanted to just record today a podcast about my health issues, because I have gone through so many weird things with my health my entire life, literally since I've been a little girl. And I'm not the kind of pastor's wife that's going to say to people, oh, have you prayed enough? Or you really need to claim this scripture over yourself, or just believe and you'll be healed. Paul talks about a thorn in his flesh in the New Testament that he has prayed and asked God to take away from him, and God didn't. And I think a lot of us will all have a thorn in our flesh to keep us humble, to keep us grounded, to help us have compassion and empathy for people around us who are suffering. And my thorn in my flesh has been my health. And if you talk to me about this, I usually have a smile. And yes, it's been hard. yes, I'm still struggling. I haven't been healed. I take medicine and supplements, which I'll get into, so you can all hear all about that. But usually what I say is it has empowered me to be a more effective pastor's wife, in my opinion, and for my survivors at our sex trafficking ministry who also have health issues. And I say, I've been through this. This is what works for this. Have you tried that? This is working for me now, or this was working for me but stopped. Immediately I jump in and just want to be helpful and say, me too. You're not alone. And I'm not the kind of pastor's wife that's going to tell you all about my blessings and how God has just saved me from all of the harshness of life, and I'm just living this dreamy, perfect pastor's wife life. No, 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 no. If you spend more than 5 minutes with me, you will hear all of the hard things God has chosen to allow me to go through. And I am trying to go through it with hope and joy and expectation that God is doing something through it. So that is why I want to talk about health today. And maybe this message will resonate with you, or you'll send it to someone who has a health issue that I'm going to talk about. That's all I care about, is that people get resources, that people find hope, and people realize they're not alone. So here we go. Let's start from the beginning with health issues. Okay. So when I was a little girl, I had stomach issues starting from a very young age. Often had trouble going to the bathroom, and I had regular bladder infections and ear infections. Now that I'm 39 years old, looking back on my little childhood self, with all the research that I have done, I now know that those are signs of lactose intolerance. But we didn't know that almost 40 years ago. Our parents didn't know about food allergies. Like, that wasn't even like a thought in their mind. So I don't blame anyone. It's just the time and age that it was. And so from a very young age, I actually have some traumatic memories of being in the hospital. I'm not sure why I was at this specific hospital, but it was like they were doing further testing on me to figure out why I kept having bladder infections. And I remember being held down in a hospital room with several nurses and doctors while I'm kicking and screaming. I couldn't be more than 5. And I do remember my parents there offering me support and empathy. I remember looking to their faces in this moment because it was so traumatic. And they were sticking a catheter at me. And then I had to walk around with the catheter at that hospital for, I think, a couple hours or something. And then they tested and, just trying to see what was wrong with me. But that's one of my first traumatic memories of the hospital. And it just didn't slow down after that. I was always struggling with my stomach, and I do remember having to take enemas often. And sorry for the TMI, guys, but this is a health issue podcast, right, for episode today. So this is what you're going to get. And that's not fun when you're a little girl, having to get enemas because you can't go to the bathroom. But that's all that was available back then. And everyone was doing the best they could with the knowledge that they had. So fast forward to my older elementary years, junior high, I feel like my bladder infections and my stomach issues really just started to fade away. And I'm really grateful for that because I don't feel like my childhood was defined by these issues. It started out that way. But I do feel like God gave me a reprieve, which is a blessing when I look back. When you're, a young child, a teen, you're trying to figure out who you are and what God has for your life, and health issues didn't define me then. But I left for Bible college when I was 17, and I slowly noticed that my stomach wasn't agreeing with the food that I was eating. Now, I wasn't eating anything any different at Bible college that I would eat at home. My mom would always make really yummy homemade meals. We didn't eat a lot of processed food growing up. It was, only a special occasion. So they were making food from scratch at our Bible college. It was really great food. Anyone listening here from our Bible college, we had the most amazing food, did we not? One of my friends worked in food service, and she loved working there. They gave their heart and soul when they made our food, but something was starting to happen with me then. And I was starting to have like stomach pains and bloating and just not, that feeling of heaviness when you just don't feel good, but you can't like put a title on it. I had gone to Costa Rica about 6 months before then. Before I started Bible college, I went to Costa Rica for 2 months on a missions trip. My first time by myself as a young missionary, and I did get a parasite there. And I spent my entire time there with stomach problems, coming out both ends pretty much regularly the whole 2 months. And finally, I admitted to my friend who was a medical nurse there, and she's like, Kisa, you have parasites. Why didn't you tell us? All you need is to take this deworming medicine. Well, what do I know? I'm this 17-year-old girl. I'm not going to tell people that I'm having stomach issues. And I finally took that medicine at the end, and I felt so much better. But I did not feel totally healed. I do feel like that parasite messed me up for life. Oh, the joys of missionary life. So then when I was a junior in Bible college, when I was 20, I went to Cambodia for a year. At our Bible college, you had to go overseas your junior year for an internship. And while I was there, the entire time I had stomach problems. And we would always joke, it's just, because it's a foreign country and you're getting parasites all the time, and we would deworm ourselves on a regular basis. So just totally dysregulated stomach issues. And we would just laugh it off. Then I came back to college my senior year, and it was like my stomach was kind of ruined even when I was back in America, and I couldn't process foods like I was able to. I started to get acne worse than I ever had in my entire life, like really bad acne, to where my mom had to take me to the dermatologist, and I had to get a prescription and a special cream. And then that's when I started a really rigorous skincare routine, which I have to this day, because I will have bad acne if I don't do this like 20-step process morning and night. So my husband and I got married and went overseas to Central Asia, and on top of the regular stomach issues there, I got a new symptom that I'd never had before. And it was horrible. I would wake up in the middle of the night, no warning, with the most excruciating, horrible, deep stabbing pain in my stomach area, to the point where I was like, this is worse than childbirth. And I would have to go on the couch so I wouldn't wake up my husband, and I would be rolling around on the couch trying to keep my screams as quiet as possible, with tears pouring down my face, wondering what in the heck is wrong with me. Am I having appendicitis? Do I have gallbladder issues? Do I have like kidney stones? And it would last 2 hours. I would like sing worship songs and pray the name of Jesus, and then as sudden as it came, it would be done. And then I would just fall asleep where I was on the couch and wake up in the morning and think, did that really happen? And I tell my husband about it, and he was like, is it something in the food we ate today? I said, I don't know. So those entire few years we lived overseas, about at least once or twice a month, I would wake up with a midnight episode like that. Didn't tell anyone, just figured it was, just something we're eating overseas. So fast forward till we moved back to America, and I was pregnant with our second, and my daughter was a toddler. We came back to America, started our senior pastor job, and almost like clockwork, I started waking up with the midnight pains again. And I would think to myself, I'm not overseas anymore. For the last how many years, I've been blaming all of my stomach issues on living overseas and parasites, and the food wasn't cooked right. I'm in America now. Something is wrong with me. Something is very wrong with me. And one of my friends had posted an article on Facebook about why she was gluten-free. And she listed all of these reasons, all these symptoms that she had experienced and why she was going gluten-free. And I'm telling you guys, in my head, up until this point, I had made fun of people in my head who were like, I can't have gluten, I can't have dairy, I can't have this or that because I'm special and I need attention. That is what I thought of those people. And God has a way of humbling us in the areas where we have pride. Because I used to think, I'm such a good missionary. I eat whatever I'm given. I don't complain. I can sleep anywhere. All of you other Americans are just so high maintenance. That's how I thought. God was like, get ready for some humble pie, girlfriend. And I read her article and I thought, I need to go gluten-free. All of those symptoms she listed, I have. Weird things I'd never even knew had a word, like brain fog. I didn't know that was a word, but I was like, just, I had just had my second kid now, and I was just in that postpartum stage, but I felt like I had had brain fog longer than I should. And headaches and stomach pains and feeling bloated. And the one weird symptom I had never talked to anyone about before my entire life, just me, myself, and I, and Jesus, I would look in the mirror after some meals and say, am I pregnant? Like my stomach was so distended, it looked like I was pregnant. And I would take a pregnancy test and it was negative. And I'm like, why do I look pregnant? And then by the end of the day or the next day, my stomach could go back to normal. And I would think, how does that, what the heck is that? And that was listed in her article where you're bloated so much you think you're pregnant. I'm like, I need to go gluten-free. This is all me. So this is 12 years ago, guys. 12 years ago. And we were kind of in a rural area of Wisconsin. Not really a place where people are eating like super healthy meals. There's no Whole Foods there. There's no Trader Joe's. And we had a small grocery store in town, but we were about 45 minutes from Walmart, and a health food store, oh my goodness, would be even farther than that. So I went cold turkey. The week before Thanksgiving, I started my first gluten-free diet. The week before Thanksgiving. Was I crazy? That's how determined I was. I knew I'm going to start today. Most people would say, I'm going to wait till after Thanksgiving. Nope, I'm going to start now. So we went to families for the holidays, and I have to explain to everyone, I'm sorry I can't have gluten. I'm trying this new diet. And I felt like everyone thought I was crazy. But I understood them because I also thought other people were crazy who said these types of things. That first week without gluten, I thought I was sick. I had a fever. I had a headache. I just felt off. I didn't know then, but I found out later it's called the bread flu when you're withdrawing from bread and all like bread products and gluten. They say some people quit because they think something's wrong with them and they go back to eating it because they felt worse when they went off gluten. That week was horrible. And then we went to a family's house for Thanksgiving, and I had to say no to all the bread products, and I felt like I was being extra, and I felt like I was being disrespectful to who cooked that meal, and I felt like I was making a scene out of myself, but I stuck to my guns. I stuck to what I knew I was doing and just didn't let it get to me. And I never went back to a full gluten diet ever again after that. Because after the bread flu passed, I felt the brain fog lift. My stomach wasn't bloated. I wasn't getting as many of those midnight attacks. They were still happening, but not as regular. And I thought, I found it. I found the answer. I just need to go gluten-free. The end. The end of the story. Well, about a year went by, and I felt that my stomach just wasn't 100% still. And I thought, okay, I've been gluten-free for a year now. I'm still not feeling 100%. So I did some research online, and I read some people who are gluten-free also need to be dairy-free. And I thought to myself, no! I live in the heartland of Wisconsin. If I go dairy-free, I will be like going against everything this state stands for. And I will be thrown out of the state because I can't eat dairy. I'm being funny. But I'm like, okay, I'm going dairy-free. And mind you, when I went gluten-free, I was not going out and buying gluten-free noodles, gluten-free bread. I went cold freaking turkey, guys. Just cut out all bread and noodles. So if I made spaghetti for the family, I just poured spaghetti sauce over my broccoli. If we had sandwiches, I just pulled out the lettuce, meat, and cheese from the sandwich. I did not buy all these other things because back then it was too much money. So looking back, honestly, I feel like it was probably the best way to go gluten-free was just to go cold turkey and just take it all out of my system. Same with dairy. I just took all milk out, all cheese out, and started buying almond milk for like my coffee creamer or my cereal, gluten-free cereal. But I hardly had gluten-free cereal. It was too expensive back then. So again, I went cold turkey with dairy. Immediately, I felt relief. Immediate relief. The extra bloating, all the stomach problems went to zero. And was it hard? Yes. Because now I can't have gluten or dairy. So what am I eating? Vegetables, meat, nuts, and anything else that you can make, like things like black bean brownies, where the heart of the meal is made out of something like plant-based. And then I thought I found the answer. I'm gluten and dairy free. That's it. That's the end of the story. I solved the puzzle. Well, several years later, I had my third child, and 2 out of my 3 babies at this point, I was given antibiotics during labor because I was group B strep positive. Now, some women have refused the antibiotics. If you have a home birth, you don't have to do it. But I just wanted to be extra cautious, and I decided to do it. So what they do is they give you continuous antibiotics through the IV while you're in labor. And I didn't know this at the time, but if you have too many antibiotics, it can ruin your gut and totally destroy like your gut biome. And looking back, I had been given antibiotics on a very regular basis because I told you I had continual bladder infections and ear infections. So I had antibiotics a ton as a child. So this is probably ruining my gut long before I went gluten-free. Just starting as a child. Too many antibiotics. But that's all that was known at that time. Again, I don't blame anyone. I'm not upset. But my gut was probably ruined at a young age. So my first child, I did not get antibiotics during labor, but my second and third child, I got tons of antibiotics in labor. And I think my body just snapped. And after I had my third child and all of those antibiotics during labor, I got extreme thrush. Now, for those of you listening, if you don't know what thrush is, it's a yeast infection passed between the baby and mother during nursing. So yeast grows in like moist, dark, warm environments. So if you have a yeast infection as a mother, then it's passed between baby and mother during breastfeeding. And then the baby has it in their mouth. So I went to the doctor. They gave me a medication. Okay, this is all going to be solved. No, weeks passed. If you have ever gone through thrush as a breastfeeding mother, it is the most excruciating pain you can ever imagine. It feels like someone is scratching you with shards of glass while your baby is nursing. And this is my third baby. Breastfeeding had always gone well and was easy for me. I would bawl and cry and was thinking about quitting breastfeeding because I could not take this anymore. And not only was there pain up there from breastfeeding, but you have a yeast infection down there as a girl. So you're having pain and itching and burning in 2 of the most sensitive places on your body as a girl. And I couldn't take it anymore. Nothing was working. I was going online and researching how to do it naturally because the medicine wasn't working. I probably spent hundreds of dollars of products at natural grocery stores and places where you can get natural supplements, trying every single thing possible natural to get rid of the baby's thrush in his mouth and on me and down there. Nothing was working, and I thought I was going freaking crazy. So what did I do? I called up a nutritionist in the area and forked out tons of money and begged her to fix me. And she did. She was very honest. She was very blunt. She was not kind. She was not sweet. She did make me cry when she told me that I was basically obese when I just had a baby and said no one should ever be that weight, even at the peak of their pregnancy, which was hurtful. But hey, I was coming to this lady to fix me, not to give me a pat on the back and make me feel better about myself. And she said, you have to cut out all sugar. All sugar. Sugar is in tomatoes. Sugar is in juice. Sugar is in carrots. Sugar is in honey. All sugar out of my diet. So now I can't have gluten. I can't have dairy. And now I can't have sugar. So basically anything I ate brought me zero joy or happiness and felt kind of like dying inside. Because I've never had an eating disorder. I've never struggled with food, but I enjoy food. I liked eating. I liked trying new things from all the countries I went to. I liked baking. I liked cooking for my family. And now everything that I shoved in my mouth was void and empty of any happiness. It felt like shattered dreams and tears. That's what my food tasted like. Shattered dreams and tears. But she was right. After a few months, my thrush went away and yeast infection went away. It went away from my baby's mouth. And she taught me that you can introduce sugar back into your diet, but you have to be careful because your yeast infection can come back. And this was almost 9 years ago. And I've since had another baby since then. And the same thing happened when that baby was born, where I did get thrush again and everything. And basically for the past 9 years, I can have very, very little sugar. So if anyone listening has ever had to monitor their sugar intake, it's not necessarily about the meal or the day. For me personally, I've noticed it's how the week goes. So if I've been super good and I haven't had one piece of fruit, I haven't had any sugar, if I do want to have it on one day, I can have so many grams of sugar in that moment, and I know it won't bring my yeast infection back. And so I can have little bits here and there, but it's how I was for the week. And if I have too much sugar for the week, then I will develop a yeast infection again. And I'm not nursing or breastfeeding anymore, so thrush isn't an issue, but yeast infection is the same thing. So just to be cautious and to keep it from coming back, which it has from time to time, I don't have sugar anymore. And thankfully, when you go to the store, you can find now gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free options, sometimes in the same item. But when I was starting this out, there was nothing, and I had to go cold turkey. So I feel like now it's easier because there are options. If you want to feel like you're having a treat, you can go down the aisle in the store and find the sugar-free cookies. Or you can go find the gluten-free cookies. Or you can find dairy-free cheese. You can find fake cheese that's plant-based. It's getting better every year, guys. Every year it's getting better. And if you are listening to this and you'd like to know what products I use, just ask me and I'll tell you what I use. And a few years ago, I realized that stabbing pain in the night was still coming a few times a year. And I thought, I've taken out gluten, I've taken out dairy, and I've taken out sugar. Why do I still have this horrible stabbing pain in my stomach in the middle of the night a few times a year? So I started seeing a GI doc over Zoom because it was during COVID. And he talked with me for a few months. And finally he said, I think it's time to try a colonoscopy for you. And let's figure out what's wrong. So I got a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. And guess what they found? Nothing. They found nothing. So guess what? You get diagnosed when they find nothing. Irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Congratulations, you have IBS. There is nothing you can do on top of what you're already doing. But, I didn't let that discourage me. I didn't let that make me feel like I had this invisible disease. I went online and read books. What do you do for IBS? And there are millions of people around the world explaining the same symptoms as me, saying, I've taken all of this stuff out of my diet. I don't cheat with my food. And then just randomly I'll have stomach problems. And that's what IBS is, because IBS is actually connected to like the brain-gut connection, and stress makes our stomach worse. And so another factor into IBS, besides taking food out of your diet, is supplements and counseling. And counseling can help figure out why we store our stress in our stomach, what to do in stressful situations to keep the stress from going to our stomach and starting a flare-up where you have to run to the bathroom or you have those pains in the night. And it's been super helpful. The counseling was amazing. My therapist was able to use the tools that she had already about IBS to help me deal with my stress, to give me tools to calm myself down in stressful situations so that I'm not going to have a flare-up. And also my doctor did prescribe me a medicine because he concluded after the endoscopy, colonoscopy, and us talking for months that my midnight episodes of intense pain in my stomach were because bile was spilling into my stomach in the middle of the night when there was no food to digest. And he said the flap on my liver that lets out bile was too loose. And so it should be like tight and keeping your bile from spilling into your stomach, but he says it's just letting too much out. So he said that I needed to have a medication that would limit the stomach acid. And I have been taking that medicine ever since, and I can tell you that my midnight episodes have come down to 0. I only had a few, but it's because I had an extremely stressful situation and my counselor helped me work through it. And now that I have better skills working through my stress, then I don't have those midnight episodes anymore. And I also found some supplements that help with IBS. I can tell you all of those if you wanna write me. It's just too much to tell in, just this podcast episode. But the answer now is I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, take supplements, go to counseling, and take my one medication. And if I stick to that, then I don't have stomach problems. Now, if I decide to cheat and have a couple bites of a pizza, I'm usually okay. But if I do that a couple days in a row, like a couple bites of pizza 3 days in a row, then I will have a stomach flare-up episode. So I've learned how much and how little I can cheat. But for the most part, I don't even cheat anymore because it's not worth it. I'm a mom of 4 kids. I'm a pastor's wife. I am busy. I work at a co-op. I can't have a stomach flare-up and need to be in my room and bathroom for a half a day. I don't have time for it. So I don't cheat. So when I'm running errands or I'm teaching at co-op and I can't bring like a cooked meal, I just bring salads everywhere. Salads and dairy-free cheese sticks and like gluten-free crackers or snacks, but mostly just salads. I bring salads everywhere I go. You can get them at the store. They're prepackaged, pre-made. If there's anything you don't want, you take it out of the packet and put it on your salad. Just don't put that portion in then if that hurts your stomach. And I know it sounds boring and it sounds annoying, but I don't want to have stomach pains. I don't have time for it. So I just bear the brunt of the sadness of not having the greatest food in the world and try to find other joys in life. And also try to buy other products that are sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, like a little cookie or a little treat that I can have after my salad and then I don't feel so bad. Now at home, is all I eat a salad? No. I eat really good, yummy food that we cook at home that's gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. But when I'm on the go, I usually just bring salads. It's just easier that way. And then the last health problem that I have that I will tell you guys about is this. I used to be able to sleep anywhere, anytime, any place with no problem. I was a missionary. I could sleep on airport floors. I could sleep on dirt floors. I could sleep in cold. I could sleep in hot. I could sleep when there's noise outside. I could sleep when there's mosquitoes biting me and bed bugs biting me. But once we became lead pastors and moved back to America, the stress of ministry and being in charge of stuff wore me down. And also having to work a second job as a photographer because ministry is never paid enough. So my husband and I have always worked side jobs. I think the stress of not having enough money and having to work a bunch of jobs and the stress of ministry started to give me insomnia. And it would only be, at first it was like once a month. And then it was twice a month. And then it was every Saturday night before church. And then it was 3 times a week. And I was using natural products to help me sleep. Every natural product out there, I've tried it. I have had people say to me, "Did you try lavender?" And I wanted to punch him in the face. I've spent hundreds of dollars on supplements. Yes, I've tried lavender, Karen. I can laugh about it now, but it used to make me mad. Do you think I'm an idiot? Yes, I've freaking tried spraying lavender on my pillow, Karen. No, I spent hundreds of dollars of products to help me sleep, and it wasn't working anymore. And then COVID hit, and then the second wave hit, the Omicron. Omicron. I always say that one wrong. Doesn't it seem like it should be Omicron? Omicron hit, and I was sick for a week with that strain of COVID, and then after I got better, my body could not fall asleep. It was like something neurologically was wrong in my brain, and I could not sleep. I had 4 kids, one of which is a newborn, and I'm laying in my bed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and I can't fall asleep. Days and days and days in a row. I would have to ask my husband and kids to take care of each other while I finally fell asleep at 6 a.m. till 10. I'd get 4 hours of sleep. I felt delusional. I felt like I was going crazy. I was crying. Why wasn't I able to sleep? Nothing I was using was working. Have you ever experienced laying in your bed the entire night until the sun rises and you couldn't get 1 minute of sleep? It's torture. Well, have you tried lavender? Karen, I'm tortured from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Lavender isn't going to fix this issue. It's kind of bigger than that. So what did I do? I went to my doctor and I said, help me. It's been months of this. I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep at night, if that, and that's only because I'm finally falling asleep at 6 a.m. We tried 3 different medications. 3 different medications that usually work on people. The first 2 didn't even put a dent into my sleep. Were not making me sleep, and my doctor was very concerned. She said, this medication is a controlled substance that you can only get like maybe for a couple weeks, and that's not putting you to sleep. I'm very concerned for you. We tried another one. Finally, the 3rd medication. Praise Jesus, hallelujah, put me to sleep. And after months of excruciating torture of not being able to sleep, I was finally able to fall asleep at night. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced a health issue that was so debilitating, so horrific, so life-sucking, that when you finally had reprieve from it, you can't even explain how that relief feels in words, because you finally feel like you get your life back. This little pill that some scientist somewhere sometime had slaved over in the lab and figured out the right concoction to put someone to sleep was working for me. That thorn in my flesh that somehow God was allowing was ripping the lifeblood from me. And I wasn't even sure how I was going to function anymore in life. And I could finally sleep. How would you feel? Put yourself in my shoes. My children deserve a mother who slept so that she can wake up and take care of them and be there for them and not be grumpy and delusional and confused. I would rather be on a medication so that I can sleep and be there for my family and my church, rather than be a mom who never gets enough sleep and can't function properly and is irritated and grumpy and whose hormones are out of whack. So I've been on that medication now for 3 years. I've tried to get off it. I've tried to wean myself off it, and it doesn't work. I can't sleep. Something about that second wave of COVID did something to my neurological system, and I know I'm not the only one because I'm in an online forum for people who have COVID-induced insomnia. Did I say that right? And we all had the exact same problem. It came out of nowhere, and we were begging for help. So I was reading in these forums, people saying the same thing as me, and everyone saying, what have you tried? What works? I can't sleep. I can't live like this. And so I was typing in these forums, you guys got to try this medication. I tried several, and this is the only one that works. And when I travel now, I can actually sleep in new places. And that's something I was experiencing too during the peak of my insomnia before I found a med. We'd go to different places on vacation to see family or friends, and I couldn't sleep in the hotel. I would sit there and watch the clock click 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'd wake up at 7. So I got 2 hours of sleep. Slept from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. over and over and over whenever we were traveling. Traveling is hard enough, but only get 2 hours of sleep? So now not only do I have the confidence that I can take this med with me when I travel and I can sleep well in a new place, but I have the confidence that I don't have to worry anymore. That gut-wrenching, overwhelming dread when you go to bed and think, will I sleep tonight? If you have ever experienced insomnia, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then your brain starts racing. If I don't get enough sleep tonight, tomorrow this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen. And no, I have the peace and know once I put this pill in my mouth, I will be asleep within an hour. It has given me so much peace in my life and given me the ability to put my stress and focus and energy into other things instead of worrying every night after night, if I'm going to sleep. So I sit here and say, okay, God, I can't have gluten. I can't have dairy. I can't have sugar. And I can't sleep without a medication. But you've provided for me in every way. You've been there for me every time I had a health issue and didn't know what to do. You led me to the right doctors. You led me to a nutritionist. You led me to forums. You led me to friends who encouraged me. You've been there for me in my health issues, and I thank you. Thank you that you didn't leave me alone. And when people in my life didn't understand me and judged me and said, why don't you pray enough? Or what's wrong with you? Or you sure have a lot of problems? I had to lay that down at the feet of Jesus and say, Jesus, you allowed me to have this health issue, but I trust you. I trust that not only will you provide for me, but that you will use me as an arrow pointing to heaven and to help others not only find hope with their health issue, but find Jesus through it. And that it wouldn't push people away from Christ, but somehow through the pain and through the stress, we can find Jesus together. We all have a thorn in our flesh. What is yours? What is the thorn in your flesh today? How is Jesus meeting you in that pain? How is Jesus meeting you in that? How is he walking through it with you? What empathy have you gained? What compassion have you gained? What insight have you gained? So that now not only can you help someone else with that health problem, but you can help them to find Jesus in their pain. Because what the world needs now is people who've been through pain. The world doesn't need Christians who say, once you come to Christ, everything's perfect. You always find the best parking spot. My health is perfect. My family's perfect. My children are perfect. Because of Jesus, everything is just perfect. No, we are not like that. We have tears streaming down our faces. We have burdens on our back that we are trying to lay down at the feet of Jesus saying, I have pain. You are not alone. We can do this together. That's what the world needs to see. The world needs to see Christians who have suffered and have suffered well, who can still point to Jesus through their suffering and say, to him be the glory. To him be all the glory, because no matter what we have suffered, nothing compares to the suffering Jesus endured for us on that cross. When he says on the cross, Father, why have you forsaken me? Can you imagine feeling God completely turning his back on you, which he would never do to any one of us? But Jesus experienced that when he was bearing all of our sin on him on that cross. And all his friends abandoned him. Nobody was there for him in his last moments. Him and God, and then even God turns his back on him in that moment. That's the kind of suffering Jesus endured when he experienced all of our sin and all of our shame upon him in that moment. But then Jesus rose again, and he defeated the grave, and he conquered, and his victory gives us hope that someday we will conquer and have the victory in our lives. And we may not see that on this side of heaven, but we have the hope that when we enter into heaven, we will have new bodies, perfect bodies. No more physical pains, no more insomnia, no more IBS, no more cancer. But that's the hope we have as Christians. God will be with us through our pain now. But if the thorn in our flesh is not taken away, then we have hope for eternity. We have eternity with Jesus, with perfect, healed bodies, no health issues. That's the gospel. So if you are listening to this and you have health issues, I pray this encourages you. That I'm with you. That I'm suffering with you. But I'm also looking to Jesus and trusting that he's doing a good and perfect work in me and in you. That's all I have for today. I didn't expect to cry, but maybe that's why God put this on my heart today, because he knew that someone out there needed to hear this message, that you're not alone. We can do this together, and Jesus is with you. So I hope you guys have a great Labor Day and that you're able to relax with your family or your friends. You're able to take some time to just be alone with Jesus, whether it's going on a walk or mowing your lawn or folding your laundry or washing your dishes, and to just let him minister to you right now with whatever thorn is in your flesh. And what does he have to say to you? What do you think he's saying to you in this moment? Just let him speak to you. Let him pour his peace and his love and his comfort over you today, and hear him say, my child, I have suffered too. I'm with you in your suffering. Please know that I am here and that I'm doing a good and perfect work through you because of this suffering. The Bible says it's an honor to suffer with Jesus. So let's suffer with Jesus, and let's suffer well. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'm so thankful that you listened to the podcast today. Sorry, it kind of took a little bit more of a serious and sad tone, but maybe that's what you needed to hear today, and I trust that God was leading me as I did this podcast today. So we will see each other again. Thank you for listening today, and I just hope you all have an amazing week, and goodbye, all of you beautiful people.